The Galactic Council's Grand Hall hovered silently above the planet Earth. It was a colossal structure made of silver metal and glowing crystals, orbiting the blue world far below like a crown. Inside, hundreds of alien leaders from across the galaxy gathered for an emergency session. Tall beings with multiple eyes, short ones with scales, and creatures that shimmered like smoke all sat around a long, floating table. Their attention was fixed on a large screen. In the center of the hall, the screen showed images from Earth's history, explosions, tanks, old warships, and soldiers screaming in muddy fields. "Is this real?" a Vest diplomat asked, his voice high and full of disbelief. "Yes," replied a Tuvok scientist, laughing slightly. "These are Earth's most advanced war records. Look at them metal bullets, fire bombs, and nuclear radiation. They fought like cave beasts." The room erupted in laughter. Even the cold and silent armed war general smirked. They had seen war in every corner of the galaxy. War fought with plasma storms, shield-piercing matter waves, and psychic combat drones. But humans, they fought with fire and metal. Some of the younger alien officers whispered to each other, calling Earth the Stone Planet. Ambassador Trenix of the Council stood up and addressed the room. His long fingers pointed at Earth as it slowly rotated on the giant hologram above them. "We discovered this planet 37 cycles ago," he said. "We gave it time to advance, and now we see it is a failure. They are violent, chaotic, and backward, but also completely laughable." A few aliens nodded. Others still chuckled at the screen, where old videos showed tanks rolling through deserts and missiles falling like rain. "They never even reached peaceful unity," another alien sneered. "Their species is still divided by borders, flags, and belief systems, and yet they dare to send signals to space as if they belong here." There was a pause. Then a Vest scholar spoke, raising a warning. "But their history shows something else. They fight fiercely. They adapt quickly. Should we not proceed with caution?" The room fell silent for a moment. Then another wave of mocking laughter echoed through the chamber. The Zarn War leader, General Orcs, slammed his metal fist on the table and stood. "Enough fear," he barked. "This species is nothing. They make noise and fire. We'll send a message. We'll show them what real war looks like." The council approved the plan. A large transmission was prepared, one that would be sent directly to Earth's satellites. It would say to the leaders of Earth, "Your time of isolation is over. You are not feared. Your weapons are toys. You will surrender all military systems and energy resources to the Galactic Council. Resistance will not be tolerated." The message was cold and clear. No greetings, no peace, just a warning and a promise dot as the signal prepared to launch. Deep in the back of the hall, a quiet RNA named Solvik raised his hand. He was younger, and he had spent years studying Earth's data secretly. "What is it?" growled General Orcs, annoyed by the interruption. "Sir," Solvik said softly, "what if the humans are hiding their real power? Their data streams stopped broadcasting detailed war technology a century ago. Since then, only surface noise, entertainment signals, and misinformation come out. What if it's a trick?" The room went still. Then Orcs laughed. "You think they fooled the entire council for a century? That's impossible." Solvik didn't reply, but his eyes stayed on the screen as Earth's night side came into view. The shadows looked to calm, to quiet. As the final vote passed and the signal was launched toward Earth, the alien fleets around the planet activated. Hundreds of ships turned their sensors toward the planet, waiting for Earth's answer. They expected panic. They expected confusion. They expected surrender. But Earth gave no reply. Instead, something happened that none of them expected. A deep, rumbling alarm echoed through the sensor stations of every alien ship. Red lights began flashing. A strange object had just entered the edge of the solar system. It had no known ID code. It was massive, far larger than any Earth ship ever recorded. It was shaped like a beast, jagged, heavy, and slow. A scout drone was sent to investigate. The drone vanished. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Panic started to ripple through the fleet commanders. Data tech stared at blank screens, unable to track the object. It wasn't responding to scans. It wasn't sending signals. Then the first visual came in, a single, terrifying image. A human Dreadnought Leviathan moving silently toward Earth orbit. Not sleek, not pretty, just power. And suddenly, no one was laughing. In the deep darkness beyond Pluto, space was calm and undisturbed. Most ships avoided this cold, empty region of the solar system. It was silent, forgotten, but today, something stirred. Far beyond the sensors of the Galactic Council's fleet, a single shadow moved slowly through space. It didn't glow like alien ships. It didn't shimmer with energy fields or fly with speed. It crawled, like an ancient beast waking from deep sleep. It was massive, at least 20 times larger than the Zarn flagship, and it didn't match any known design from Earth or any other race. The object had no official signal, no light emissions, and no visible engines. But it was moving, steady, straight toward Earth. Inside the alien monitoring station above Mars, a technician named Froltech noticed it first. He was bored, playing a slow game of holographic dice, when a silent alert flashed across his monitor. Unidentified mass, vector approaching Earth, origin unknown. At first, he thought it was an asteroid, maybe a comet, but as he zoomed in, his breath caught it was a ship, but no ship he had ever seen before. He rushed to call his commander, and within minutes, a dozen alien vessels focused their long-range scanners on the object. What they saw made their voices go quiet. The ship's surface was strange, dark, jagged, and brutal. It was made of some unknown alloy that deflected scans. Its structure didn't follow any sleek alien pattern. It looked mechanical, violent. The front of the ship had no windows, no decorations, only a large, circular opening like the mouth of a cannon that could swallow a city whole. It was human. But how? According to all records, humans had nothing like this. Their last known ships were small, barely capable of defending a moon base. But this ship, this Dreadnought, was beyond anything the Council had ever prepared for. The Council panicked. Emergency meetings were called. Zarn warships scrambled to intercept the object. A group of Tuvok scientists tried to hack its systems, but there was nothing to connect to. The ship didn't use known communication tech. It was completely silent, as if it didn't need to speak. Inside the Dreadnought, the silence was just as deep. The control room was large and dim, lit only by soft blue lights. Thick steel walls surrounded everything. There were no assistants, no soldiers, just one man, Admiral Jack Rourke. He sat still in the command chair, eyes closed, hands resting onto metal spheres beside him. His face was scarred. His uniform was old, black, with faded patches from wars no one remembered. His breathing was calm, like a man not surprised, but waiting. He opened his eyes as the ship crossed Neptune's orbit, all systems green. The ship's voice said gently, "Time to introduce ourselves," Rourke muttered. Back near Earth, Council ships formed a blockade. Hundreds of alien vessels floated in perfect formation, creating a wall of plasma cannons and shield networks. They were ready for war, or so they believed. The first wave was peaceful. A small Zarn probe ship flew out, sending light pulses toward the Dreadnought. A message in over 50 alien languages. "Identify yourself. You are entering protected space." No answer. The probe circled the Dreadnought once, trying to scan its hull. Then, in less than a second, it vanished. No explosion, no sound, just nothing. The Council fleet froze. They sent a second probe, same result. They didn't know it, but the Leviathan had activated a localized gravity trap, a human invention designed to erase anything that got too close without permission. Not destroy, erase. The Zarn general barked out orders. Form attack pattern. Prepare plasma strike. 12 ships moved in, surrounding the Dreadnought. Inside the Leviathan, Rourke stood and walked to a long, sealed window. It slowly opened, revealing the stars and the flashing lights of enemy ships all around. He said nothing, but his fingers tapped the side panel near him. Thousands of hidden compartments along the Dreadnought's hull opened at once, not with alien energy beams. But with solid weapons, railguns, missile silos, kinetic spikes, and one massive barrel pointing forward, the Titan cannon. A weapon designed not to damage ships, but to erase entire memories of fleets. No shots were fired yet, but the message was clear. Back on the Council station, silence fell. Ambassadors watched with wide eyes. The being they had mocked just hours ago had arrived, not in a plea for peace, but with quiet, terrifying confidence. The Vest diplomat whispered, "Why didn't we see this coming?" The young aide Solvek answered quietly, "Because we were too busy laughing." Admiral Rourke finally spoke, his voice reaching only the Leviathan's crew. AI. Let's see if they can still smile when the stars shift, and the ship continued forward, steady, as if the entire alien fleet didn't exist. The Dreadnought Leviathan drifted silently through space, its hull absorbing starlight like a black hole. The alien fleet, stretched across orbit like a silver net, hovered with weapons hot and engines trembling. They had surrounded the Leviathan, not with confidence now, but with fear wrapped in protocol. Inside the command centers of the Zarn, Tivok, and Vest warships, officers barked out orders, scanning every inch of the human ship, searching for weak points, but there were none. No exhaust ports, no power fluctuations, no command bridge, windows, nothing familiar, just steel, shadows, and silence. General Ricker of the Zarn was losing patience. The Council had been made to look like fools, first by mocking Earth, then by being ignored by a single, unmoving human warship. His pride burned hotter than any plasma cannon. He slammed his fist on the control console and shouted across the fleet-wide channel, "Fire at will. Let them see what real power is." 12 Zarn warships opened fire in unison. A sea of blinding plasma bolts surged through space, painting the stars orange and white. The blast hit the Leviathan's hull direct, brutal, unavoidable, and nothing happened. No cracks, no heat signatures, no shield collapse. The Dreadnought absorbed it all like a stone in the ocean. Ricker's eyes widened. He screamed, "Fire!" Again, all ships maximum discharge. This time, over 50 ships unleashed their payload. Plasma missiles, graviton torpedoes, shatter beams. Every known weapon in their arsenal was hurled at the Leviathan. Explosions wrapped around the ship, filling space with noise and fire. To any normal fleet, this would be death. But when the light faded, the Leviathan still floated untouched. It didn't retaliate. It didn't even move. But deep inside the Dreadnought, a quiet hum began. Admiral Rourke stood still, his eyes closed. A soft red light pulsed across the command floor. The AI's voice spoke calmly. "Auto defense protocols online. Authorization required to engage." Rourke opened his eyes. "Authorization, Leviathan Protocol Prime. Engage at 20% power." The AI responded without emotion. "Engaging. Targeting. Priority. Hostiles. Objective. Demonstration across the Dreadnought's hull. Weapons unlocked." But these were no ordinary weapons. The first to activate was a series of kinetic lances, ultra-dense rods of tungsten accelerated using electromagnetic rails. They didn't burn or explode. They simply moved at near relativistic speed. The Leviathan fired just 3 shots. In less than 2 seconds. 3 Zarn warships turned into clouds of dust. Not wreckage, not broken parts, just dust atomized by the sheer force of raw kinetic power. The fleet fell into chaos. Some captains panicked and pulled back. Others screamed to lock shields. But it was already too late. Next came the Spectre swarm from deep hangar bays. Small black drones launched silently. No engine trails, no sound. They were shaped like jagged needles and moved in impossible zigzags. They sliced through energy shields, crawled through hull cracks, and shut down entire ships from the inside. One ship was shown on Council broadcast, its crew screaming before all signals went dead, and then the ship simply went cold and dark, floating like a ghost. General Ricker's ship was hit next. A swarm of specters penetrated his command deck. Lights flickered, air grew thin. Ricker pulled his weapon, firing into the shadows, but it was pointless. A single drone landed before him and played back a human voice. "This is not war. This is a warning." Then the drone self-destructed. No flames, just a silent magnetic pulse that erased every weapon system on the ship. Ricker collapsed to his knees, stunned, sweating. He looked out at the Leviathan in the distance, still unmoving, still silent. He whispered, "What are these creatures?" Back in the Council command chamber orbiting Jupiter, chaos erupted. Alien leaders demanded answers. "This was supposed to be a test," shouted a Vest official. "We were told humans had nothing." A lone Tivok analyst spoke slowly. "We were wrong. This isn't war. This is demonstration. They're not attacking. They're teaching us." Meanwhile, the Leviathan powered down its weapons. It had done what it needed to do. Rourke gave no speech, no demand, no declaration of victory. The ship simply resumed its slow path toward Earth. A final message was broadcast across all Council channels. It was a text-only transmission. No threats, no demands. Just one line. "This is what restraint looks like. The alien fleets, once proud and loud, began to retreat slowly, one by one. The war was over before it ever began. But for Admiral Rourke and the humans below, This was just the beginning. The galaxy had always watched Earth like it was a strange animal in a cage, loud, emotional, primitive. The Galactic Council believed humans were reckless, divided, and obsessed with old-fashioned war. But after Leviathan's silent arrival and its devastating response to the Zarn fleet, everything changed. The Council was now afraid, not just of the ship, but of the question it raised. How did Earth build something like that? And no one noticed. Across alien worlds, panic spread. Scientists were sent to dig through Earth's old data. Hackers tried to break into human satellites. Spy probes began swarming Earth's orbit, but none found answers because the truth was buried deep beneath the oceans, behind dead satellites, and inside forgotten mountains. It began over a century ago. When the last world war nearly broke humanity, nuclear weapons had scarred the land. Satellites had failed. Countries fell. But something strange happened in the aftermath. Earth didn't just rebuild. It disappeared. The humans faked chaos. They made it look like they were still fighting among themselves, poor, confused, broken. But it was a lie. A global lie. After the war, the world's top minds came together in secret. Engineers, physicists, soldiers, programmers, many of whom were enemies just months before, met in underground bunkers and underwater stations. They had seen the stars. They had heard whispers of other civilizations. They knew Earth was not alone. And so they formed the Veil Protocol, a global mission to hide Earth's true progress. The plan was genius. First, they shut down their best satellites and replaced them with fake ones. These fake satellites beamed out false data, primitive military tests, old TV shows, weather, noise. Next, they scrubbed the internet. Anything advanced, new weapons, propulsion theories, AI breakthroughs was buried behind layers of fake arguments and conspiracy theories. To the galaxy, it looked like Earth had fallen behind. But beneath the Arctic ice, inside vast vaults deep under the Pacific Ocean, and in shadow craters on the dark side of the moon, humanity was working faster than ever. Using the ruins of war and ashes of old governments, they built a new kind of military, not one for conquest, but for survival. It took decades, and it wasn't easy. Thousands of engineers lived in isolation, never seeing sunlight. Generations of soldiers trained in virtual worlds no alien had access to. Earth even created silent AIs programs with no online presence, no signals, nothing that could be traced. These AIs were trained not to win battles, but to study alien warfare. The Leviathan was their masterpiece. It wasn't designed to travel fast or look beautiful. It wasn't made for patrol or diplomacy. It was made to be the last word in battle. Built from a rare metal called black iron mined from an asteroid the rest of the galaxy thought was destroyed, its hull could bend gravity and absorb energy. Its weapons didn't rely on heat or radiation. They used pure force, gravitational disruption, and spatial denial, concepts even the Tivok couldn't master. Its power core was buried inside a magnetic cage, surrounded by two artificial singularities that balanced each other in perfect harmony. If that sounds insane, it's because it was. No alien race had dared to try such a thing, but humans didn't fear impossible ideas. They lived in them. Meanwhile, on Earth, the news of the Dreadnought's appearance was met with a calm silence. World leaders said nothing. No press conferences. No panic, because most civilians didn't even know the Leviathan existed. That was part of the plan. Back aboard the Galactic Council station, chaos still reigned. Ambassador Trennick shouted at his aides, "We've been monitoring Earth for generations." How did they hide all this? An old vest scientist replied bitterly, "Because we were watching their skies, not their oceans. We watched their networks, not their silence. We assumed they were weak because they argue with each other, but maybe that's their camouflage." The council fell into silence. In a hidden council intelligence chamber, another discovery sent chills down alien spines. Old intercepted Earth signals, once dismissed as nonsense, were reanalyzed. They found fragments of secret messages, blueprints encoded in television, static equations hidden in music broadcasts, even military strategies hidden in children's cartoons. Humanity hadn't just hidden. They had mocked their watchers. General Orcs, still wounded and humiliated after the Spectre swarm shut down his flagship, stared out a broken viewport. He whispered to himself, they didn't just survive war, they evolved inside it. Back on the Leviathan, Admiral Rourke watched as Earth's blue curve appeared outside his viewport. His crew, silent and focused, made no celebration. They hadn't won a war. They had simply shown the galaxy the truth. Earth wasn't primitive. Earth wasn't late. Earth was patient. Rourke leaned back in his chair. The Leviathan slowed to low orbit. Thousands of alien eyes watched from above, waiting, unsure, and still. The humans said nothing, because in Earth's new military doctrine, the most terrifying power wasn't in the weapons. It was in the silence before they were used. The Leviathan hung above Earth like a shadow carved from a forgotten nightmare. It didn't shine. It didn't hum with power. It simply was like a mountain floating in the sky. The Galactic Council's shattered fleet had scattered, licking wounds and sending scrambled reports back to their homeworlds. But not a single ship dared to move closer. They didn't know if the Dreadnought would strike again, and that was what terrified them the most. Inside the Council's emergency chamber on the orbital station, screens flickered with warnings. Weapon systems offline. Tactical AI shutdown. Fleet formations broken. Enemy ship. Leviathan. Status unknown. No one spoke for several minutes. Then one of the VES officers leaned forward and whispered, "We have angered a god." But Leviathan had not retaliated beyond the warning. It hadn't chased their ships. It hadn't destroyed the Council's command tower. It floated above Earth in complete stillness. And yet, it was waking up. Inside the Leviathan's cold steel walls, energy flowed through silent corridors. Panels along the walls lit up with soft blue light. Massive gears rotated deep in the ship's lower decks, some the size of buildings. Hundreds of defensive drones shifted positions, forming invisible walls of moving metal. And in the center of it all, inside the core cathedral, as it was once called, sat Admiral Jack Rourke. He stood alone beneath the dome ceiling, surrounded by holograms of alien ship movements, historical records, and live data feeds from human satellites. But he didn't look at any of them. He was listening to the ship, because the Leviathan didn't operate with buttons or levers. It moved through command intention, neural thought, human will, and Rourke was its heartbeat. The AI's voice echoed softly through the chamber. "Admiral, Council fleets in retreat. Galactic broadcasts detected. Full planetary alerts. Current status, dominance established." Rourke didn't smile. He didn't speak with pride. He only muttered, "They haven't seen the storm yet." With a simple thought, he authorized. Phase to the Leviathan's hull shifted. The plates on its surface began to split open, folding outward like layers of thick armor, revealing glowing channels underneath. Red-orange energy pulsed between the cracks like veins in a living thing. And then, the Dreadnought extended massive wings. They weren't wings for flying. They were graviton sails, devices used not for movement, but for bending gravity itself. The sails unfolded like black flags made of starlight, absorbing the surrounding mass to feed the core. The Council's emergency sensors went insane. One VES technician screamed, "It's warping space. It's absorbing vacuum mass directly. That's not supposed to be possible." But the impossible was now reality. And then the Titan cannon activated. Unlike the Spectre swarms or kinetic lances, the Titan cannon wasn't meant to destroy ships. It was meant to end time for them. It was powered by Earth's most forbidden weapon, a collapsed particle, the leftover remnant of a failed artificial black hole. Scientists had called it a mistake. Rourke had called it an opportunity. As the cannon charged, a soft ring echoed across space, a sound so deep it could be felt more than heard. The pulse rippled through the Council's surviving ships. Lights flickered, data streams lagged. Even alien thought slowed as time itself bent in Leviathan's presence. And then boom, the Titan cannon fired. There was no light, no flash, just a tear in space. A ripple like someone had skipped a stone across the universe. The wave struck a group of ships still holding position at Mars orbit. For 20 seconds, nothing happened. And then all 5 ships exploded at the same time. No delay, no motion, just instantaneous annihilation. It was as if time had been paused and the destruction had waited patiently before continuing. In the Council chamber, silence fell. One of the alien admirals finally spoke, his voice shaking. "We cannot defeat them. They command physics." Meanwhile, the humans below Earth's surface remained quiet. They had no celebration, no parade. This wasn't a victory for them. It was simply step one in revealing the truth to the galaxy. Humanity had not stopped evolving. They had simply stopped talking. Back aboard Leviathan, Admiral Rourke stood by the viewport, watching the Council ship drift away. He could have destroyed it, but he did in single quotes instead. He sent a second message. This time, it was a voice transmission, and it was simple. "Earth has never wanted war. We wanted respect. If silence earned us mockery, then let power earn us peace. The message was received by every alien civilization in the known galaxy. The effect was immediate. On hundreds of worlds, their people stared at the message, horrified. School children, once taught to laugh at humans, were now told to study them. And as the Leviathan slowly folded its wings and returned to passive orbit, one thing became clear: the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. Because now they knew the humans hadn't come late to the stars. They had come prepared. The stars had gone quiet. Across 1,000 alien worlds, the message had already been received. From the icy caverns of the Tivok homeworld to the floating cities of the Vest Empire, even to the hidden asteroid colonies of the Tsar Dominion, every screen now played the same recorded transmission, and yet the voice in it wasn't angry. It wasn't proud. It was tired. Admiral Jack Rourke stood in the command hall of the Leviathan, facing a camera that wasn't even plugged into the galactic network. Instead, the Dreadnought's onboard AI hijacked thousands of communication satellites with ease. The moment Rourke opened his mouth, the galaxy paused. "This is Admiral Rourke of the United Human Defense Initiative," he began. His voice was low, calm, steady. "I address not one species. I address all of you." There was no dramatic background, no war anthem, just a man in a dark steel room, standing alone. For generations, your kind watched Earth like a curious child watches. Ants, you laughed at us. You studied our wars. You judged our emotions. You measured our strength with your machines and found it lacking. That was your first mistake. His eyes sharpened, but his tone remained controlled. You saw our history and assumed we were primitive. You saw our conflict and called us violent. You saw our silence and called us weak. That was your second mistake. A soft hum echoed in the background as the Leviathan's orbital sensors activated. But the real show had just begun. In low orbit, 12 new signals appeared on alien scanners. One after another, new shapes entered from behind the moon. Massive, slow, unmarked. They looked just like the Leviathan, but with slight differences in design, size, and armament. Admiral Rourke continued, "You believe Earth had only one ship, a prototype, a fluke, but Earth has never believed in showing its full hand." The camera zoomed out slightly, now showing multiple dreadnoughts aligning themselves into a circle around Earth. Each one rotated slowly, revealing its distinct arsenal, some carrying siege cannons longer than skyscrapers, others humming with dark energy coils and cloaking emitters. One even shimmered as a face shifting in and out of visible space. The AI transmitted their names in perfect galactic common tongue: Leviathan, Behemoth, Iron Warden, Nightshade, Argus, Sovereign, Fury of Atlas, Seraphim, the Maw, Whisper, Judicator, and the 12th, Requiem. Together, they formed what Earth's hidden command referred to as the Sentinel Ring, a defense fleet, never meant to invade, only to remind. Rourke turned away from the camera and looked out through a long horizontal viewport. Earth floated below, peaceful and unaware of the fear spreading through the stars above it. "We did not build these ships for conquest. We built them for the day the galaxy stopped laughing." His voice deepened. "You speak of unity, but your council is a cage of arrogance. You govern through fear. You offered Earth no friendship, only demands, no invitations, only ultimatums. That was your final mistake." In every alien government chamber, leaders stood frozen. Some tried to shut down the broadcast. None succeeded. The Leviathan's AI had rooted itself into the deepest parts of their systems like a silent observer. That had always been there. Rourke's message continued. "We now ask for no seat in your council. We ask for no treaties. Earth doesn't need your permission to exist among the stars." Suddenly, the Dreadnought fleet shifted formation. From orbital defense to interstellar reach, portals opened behind several ship-stable wormholes created by Earth's own folded space generators. No other species had mastered such tech without catastrophic failure, but Earth had. Quietly, deep beneath Antarctica. From those portals, dozens of smaller warships emerged, agile, black, and deadly, each one piloted by elite human crews, trained in total radio silence, connected only by neural links. Some of them had never seen sunlight, born and raised in deep bunkers for this very moment, and yet none of them fired a single shot, because they didn't come to fight. They came to stand, to show the galaxy that Earth's might was not in destruction, but in readiness. Back on his command deck, Rourke gave one final sentence. The screen dimmed to near black, his face lit only by the starlight behind him. "If you truly wish peace, then speak. If you wish war, then continue laughing Earth. Will not ask again. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, silence followed. On Tivok Prime, their High Council declared an emergency ceasefire with all neighboring systems. On Zarn colonies, recruitment numbers plummeted overnight. In Vest academies, the study of human war philosophy became mandatory curriculum. And most of all on Earth, nothing changed. There were no celebrations, no speeches, just quiet. As if the planet had always known this moment would come. The people went to work, children went to school, the skies stayed blue. Because for humans, the real war was never about power. It was about respect earned through restraint. And now, the galaxy finally understood the most human truth of all. The more silent a species becomes, the more dangerous it has already become. In the days after Admiral Rourke's message, the galaxy felt different. No explosions followed, no counterattacks, no diplomacy from Earth, just silence. But it was not the same silence the galaxy once mocked. This silence was heavy, powerful, the kind that made the oldest rulers sit straighter in their chairs, the kind that made young soldiers stare at the sky and wonder if their weapons mattered anymore, the kind of silence that only followed the entrance of something greater, like the final footstep. Before Judgment. Earth had not claimed territory. It had not asked for revenge. It had simply stood still and let the galaxy shift around it. And shift it did. On Vest Prime, the high academies of war immediately rewrote their military doctrines. For centuries, Vest taught that emotion in warfare was a weakness. Now, they replayed human battlefield footage from Earth's ancient wars trenches in World War I, urban chaos in Fallujah, coordinated orbital jumps from the Mars Rebellion. Students wept, professors wept, because for the first time, they understood humanity had not survived despite chaos. It had survived because of it. They called it the doctrine of controlled madness. On Tivok space stations, engineers dismantled entire projects. Projects that once aimed to study primitive human energy weapons were now declared obsolete. Instead, the Tivok elite sent envoys not to Earth's governments, but to the Leviathan itself. Their request was simple: let us learn, not from your tech, but from your patience. They received no reply, just a signal, coordinates. A timed out, the Leviathan would open its outer observation deck for 1 hour. No speeches, no guides, just silence. A lesson, human style. Even the warlike Zarn Dominion changed. General Ricker, once proud and loud, stood before the broken wreck of his warship, now repurposed into a peace monument on his homeworld. The specter swarms that had once invaded his ship were now studied with reverence, like sacred relics. Not because of how they destroyed, but because of how they stopped. One by one, after disabling the weapons, after giving warning, after showing mercy, Ricker himself knelt before a hologram of Admiral Rourke and whispered the words no Zarn had spoken in 1,000 years. We were wrong. Meanwhile, Earth said nothing. The Sentinel ring remained in orbit. The 12 dreadnoughts moved in silence, occasionally rotating, sometimes aligning like celestial guardians. No weapons were fired. No announcements made. Inside the United Human Defense Command, deep beneath the ice of Greenland, scientists and strategists watched galactic data pour in. Not one council ship had entered Earth's orbital path since the demonstration. Not one alien transmission dared to mock humanity again. But something more powerful was happening, something even Leviathan hadn't predicted. The council itself began to fracture. Old rivalries resurfaced. Some alien empires accused others of hiding human knowledge. Others demanded their governments apologize to Earth in full galactic broadcast. Fear, guilt, admiration, and all boiled together into something the galaxy had not seen in ages: humility. On a moon colony far from the core systems, a young alien child asked her teacher, "Why are humans so strong?" The teacher, an elder vest with silver skin and soft eyes, knelt beside her and replied, "Because they remember pain like others remember math, and they shape it into armor." Back aboard Leviathan, Admiral Rourke stood alone in the observation room. The Earth below turned slowly, its oceans calm, its cities shining gently through the clouds. He held no medals. He wore no crown. He was just watching. The ship's AI broke the silence. "Admiral, Council sectors report record peace. Border conflicts have ceased. Piracy in outer rings dropped 80%. Refugee vessels now openly requesting Earth-guided passage." Rourke blinked slowly. "Any threats?" "None. Not even whispers." He gave a faint nod. "Then we did our job. And if they forget, The AI asked softly. Rourke smiled for the first time in years. A tired, human smile that we remind them, not with fire, but with presence. He turned and walked toward the main bridge dot behind him. The words etched into the Leviathan's inner hull glowed gently, words every crew member passed by. Every day, power is not proven by war. It is proven by who waits the longest before ending it. And so, Earth became not a ruler, but a center, a place where diplomacy became real, where alien children visited to learn why humanity wants for so much and why it finally stopped, where former enemies sat together under skies once filled with missiles and now filled only with stars, because the galaxy finally understood Earth didn't come to conquer, it came to last.